Welcome to the Think Yourself Healthy podcast, where we challenge you to think differently about your approach to health and wellness. My name is Heather Duranja, and I'm excited to be here with you to take you on the journey from surviving to thriving. Welcome to today's episode of Think Yourself Healthy. On today's show, we have a very special guest. Her name is Heather Askinosie. Heather is a crystal expert and leading influencer on the power of crystals, Feng Shui, and holistic healing. For nearly 30 years, she has been researching the scientific and spiritual aspects of energy. After studying with the best healers from all over the world, she has used the past 3 decades of her career to translate ancient wisdom into simple tools that anyone can use to transform their life. In 2000, she co-founded Energy Muse with business partner Timmi Jandro. Energy Muse provides tools of empowerment and inspiration in the tangible form of jewelry and crystals. Her crystal teachings can be found in her books, Crystal Muse, Everyday Rituals to Tune into the Real You, and CRYSTAL365, Crystals for Everyday Life and Your Guide to Health, Wealth, and Balance. Learn more about Energy Muse at energymuse.com. Welcome to the show, Heather. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited. Thank you.
I'm stoked because this book was such a powerful tool for me in my healing journey in 2018. That's when I was originally introduced to you and your mission and your journey. And I just fell in love, like literally just fell in love. When I was reading this book, I identified with so many parts of your story. It was such an inspiration to read. I'll let you explain a little bit to the audience about your background and what brought you down this journey. But there's one specific quote in this book that made such an impact and impression on me. I remember reading this, getting to this line, this statement, and literally stopping and just sitting there for like moments in awe. So there's a line that goes, "Heather, you're standing by the side of the road, starving to death with a loaf of bread in your hands. You have all of the information on energy and healing. Do something with it." Yeah. That was such a powerful statement and moment for me. So tell the audience a little bit about you and what brought you on this journey to become a crystal and energy expert.
Well, I will say that I was not brought up in this world per se, even though I'm a 5th generation Californian. So, you know, living in California, we all have a little bit of a different perspective of life and being by the ocean and whatnot. But I was in the business world. I was selling real estate, high-end real estate, and I was making a ton of money, and it was amazing. And on paper, I looked fantastic. I had what everyone says you want, you know?
Yeah.
But there was something inside of me that was not content, and something that was like money wasn't feeding me on a level of there was something more. And so as life happens, and I think when you start opening up to what you're doing, your mind, being aware, silencing yourself, learning these tools that are so available to us, I came in contact with a man who was a CFO of a Fortune 500 company. And at the time he said, "Look, I want to come in, I'm going to buy a lot of real estate from you, but the house has to have good feng shui." And back then I had no idea what that was, which is really harmony and balance of an environment. But because I wanted to sell him real estate, I started learning about this world of energy that was invisible, that people were teaching me existed. And I'm like, I can't see it. I don't understand. But it made me very curious. And in many ways, my life started changing. And what happened was, one thing led to another. I stumbled upon a store that had crystals in it. And there was a crystal, it was an amethyst crystal. And I said, "Hey, that's cool." And the lady said, it's from Brazil. It helps you with your intuition. I'm like, what are you talking about, intuition? So I guess for me, it's something, and I think, and you understand this, and I'm sure your listeners understand, it's a calling. It's almost like there's something that draws you in that is unexplainable. And at that point, my heart was so closed, and I lived in a world of dun, 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 dun. This is how it's supposed to be, programmed belief systems, which I love what you do because it's the medicine of today. And so what happened was, it took me on a journey that changed my life, and in many ways unraveled it. I didn't know who I was. My friends didn't know who I was, my family. And it was, and even to this day, it's a lonely journey, in the fact that you're on a ride by yourself, but it's a rich ride. And it's a ride of, it's a ride that able to be alone with yourself, which sometimes can take many years to feel that comfortableness. It can really liberate you in so many ways. Mm-hmm. And so I stayed on the journey, and once again, it's still a journey. I still learn every single day. I still am open. I'm still curious. I still am an avid student. And I find that because of that, I'm humbled on a daily basis. And I feel like my life is a lot more happy and fulfilling because of it.
It's so beautiful. For the listeners, I really encourage everyone to pick up a copy of Crystal Muse, Everyday Rituals to Turn into the Real You. This book was such a foundational component in my journey. So I went up to Northern California, and I spent, I think it was about 16 weeks in isolation by myself. Wow. It was the first time in my entire life that I had ever spent time alone. And those first few weeks were frightening. They were so frightening. And I didn't know what to do with myself. I felt very discombobulated. I was in a strange working environment that was extremely toxic. And I just knew, okay, this isn't going to work. Mm-hmm. Like, this is not in alignment with how I actually want to feel. And so I was gifted this rainbow obsidian necklace. This was the first crystal piece that I had ever been introduced to. And it was such a game changer at that time. Putting it around my neck, I immediately felt the energy shift. It was, you have to experience it. It's something that's hard to describe, but it's a feeling. And from there, I was curious and I wanted to know more. So I went into the little town of Mount Shasta, and I started going into all of the crystal stores, and I was in awe, and I'm like, I need books. I need more. I need to learn. I need to understand this. I have a very scientific brain, and so I like to understand how things work. So of course, there's a lot of us out there that think, well, this is woohoo. Is there really any logical evidence to support the healing benefits? And so I really wanted to know more. And your book provided me with the tools that I needed at that time to take the steps, to learn self-love, to learn who I was, to heal from all of the chaos that was around, to help me understand boundaries. It was such an impactful tool. So I encourage everyone to pick that book up. There was a money ritual in here that I did every single day for 45 days. And I would wake up at 4:00 in the morning. I would go over to my little beautiful shrine that I had set up. And it was such a fulfilling experience. I'm not going to lie. It was so funny. When I was reading the mantra that I was supposed to chant, I had no idea how to do it. I didn't know how to pronounce the words, how to start. So I was super intimidated. And the first new moon came and passed. And I was like, well, I guess I'll start next month. And so finally I was like, maybe I can YouTube it and someone can teach me how to say it. And so I did that. And that was the thing that allowed me to submit and do the work. And the benefits that I received from that were just, I mean, I have no words for them. And from there, that's where my passion and my addiction to crystals and energy work were really blossomed.
Yeah.
So
that's amazing. That's amazing.
yeah, I mean, the power is incredible.
Yeah, I mean, when I first was asked to write a book on crystals, I wanted to write it as a story because I feel like we all have a journey when you get aligned with the energy of the earth. For me, working with crystals is I needed something tangible to hold on to, because I myself am very similar to you. I do have a logical, scientific mind. Things need to, I don't know, have functionality to it. It's almost as an engineering. I want to understand the components, the molecular structures. I wanted to understand all that so that I have a foundation and a formula to what I'm doing. So when writing that book, I wanted to share that, hey, I'm married, I have kids. You know, I'm not, although it would be nice to be meditating, have all this and that, but I'm navigating a lot of different things like we all are, right? And so the story of Timmi and I is really, Timmi and I are very different, you know, and that's why we work as a partnership in our business. But I wanted to really show both sides of the story and how we got on this journey. And it wasn't how we integrated crystals on a daily basis in a practical way that anybody could do it. Because if we can do it, believe me, if she and I could do it, anyone could do it. And so that was really what that, and like with my new book, CRYSTAL365, this is really about, okay, here are crystals. Here are 52 crystals that are easy, accessible. Here is an actionable thing you could do in 3 minutes or less to get a result. Because I feel we need to have some kind of, it makes us feel good when we have tangibility, when we could say, okay, I did this for a certain amount of time, and now if I pay attention, what's changed? And if things are moving it, like for you, what you said, in the right direction, then continue. But if they're not, don't do it anymore. And what's so cool about crystals nowadays is you can really start very affordably, where you're not going to have to outlay all this money to work with it. But if you're on this thing of, hey, I bought a crystal and it didn't work, and I haven't met this person, I haven't got a new job. For me, crystals are a tool to help you get to work, not to do the work for you. It's something to hold on to. It's something to plug into. It's something to connect with. But this, you know, the medicine, the person who's going to create your magic is you. So anyway, that's kind of at least where my philosophy is with crystals, and why I always looked at them as something as to help me, but not something that I put my power, gave my power away to. And for me, I just think, and there's tons of people, different philosophies. I just want to get that on, because I think that's where it gets the woo-woo energy of this, like, kind of like stigma of something that's not pure. This is earth energy, and we all have the choice to do what we want with it. I'm all about, let's plug into the light. Let's be at our highest potentiality. Let's be, how are we going to serve and do good? And we do that when we are good inside, when we clear away our own belief systems.
Yes.
Then we get on better. But that takes time, right? It doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we're that instant gratification society, and we set expectations that are just unrealistic, and we'll do something for a short period of time. We don't see the results. So we're like, well, guess that doesn't work. But yeah, it's unfortunate. I think we have to just keep educating and promoting that, you know, it's baby steps. It's consistent baby steps that we have to take. And when I read your book was such a relatable book. So I myself, you know, business owner, single mother, I had all kinds of things going on. And I felt like the way that you presented the information and the different rituals, it was something that I could relate to and see myself doing. Right. And a lot of the other literature that was available at the time was very intimidating. It was very woo-hoo kind of way out. I didn't understand the terms that were being used. It just didn't feel like something I could attach to. And your book was something I definitely could attach to.
Why, thank you. Well,
yeah, it's such a great piece of work. And I'm so grateful that you took the time to put it together and share all of your, moments and memories and experiences. And the rituals, not only, I'll get off the book in a second, but I have to say one more thing about it. It is so beautifully illustrated. The photographs are just gorgeous. When you look at these rituals and you see the photographs, you can visualize your space. You can visualize yourself creating something similar. And that helped me immensely when I was trying to go through this process, because it was all brand new. I knew nothing.
But for many of us, I mean, and to this day, the first thing that attracts me often to a crystal, it's the visual aspect of it. And so I wanted to give credit to the crystals and how they are these visual energies, and how they can be in our home, and they can be in our bathroom, and they can hold places for us. And so it is a visual, the world of crystals is a visual. It invites you to play with the natural beauty of Mother Earth that reminds us that we all have that within us. And so it was, for me, crystals are a visual. I love eye candy, and it's one of the reasons to this day I absolutely love crystals. And for me, crystals are different. Everyone's unique. They come from different families, and they're diverse, and they're like all of us, but we're all of one community. We right now, as we must come together, is we all live on the earth. This is our home. And so it's, for me, a community aspect of it. And it's a crystalline grid that connects us all. Whether you know about that or not, we are all energetically connected. And when you connect with that crystalline grid, and recently as I've gone mining and been in the earth to see these veins that do exist, I'm like, oh, this isn't all make-believe. Okay, I'm in Colorado you never think about amethyst and being in Colorado, but when you go down, not even a quarter of a mile, not even that far down, you could see this complete amethyst vein that goes through the state. And this isn't like woo-woo stuff. This is part of our earth. And so is the medicine, energetic medicine, there for us to tap into, like every ancient civilization has before us?
I like to refer to my crystals as beings that I adopt. When I go out, and it's usually a calling for me, something inside me will be like, I need a labradorite, not sure why, but I better go do it. And then I'll go and, find selections, and then I'll feel the energy and know exactly which one I'm supposed to adopt and bring home and allow to share the space and the energy with. And so it's a fun thing. I actually budget for crystals. So any disposable income that I have, I'm like, oh, that's crystal money. That's crystal money. And I don't know if that will ever end. My vision is to have large pieces someday, very large pieces. So I'm curious, what is the largest crystal you have? What type is it, and how much does it weigh?
Wow. Okay. So after being and doing what I've been doing for so long, I realized, and you understand this as a collector, it can become an addiction. And I find that what my journey now is with the crystals is that they become family members, they become part of you. But I also, as for me right now, I need to not hoard them all for myself, because I'm supposed to be getting them and then selling them for other people to have them. But I've noticed recently they haven't been going out the door. So because they are special, and when we sell it, I don't want to say sell them, because it's not even selling. I know that's probably horrible for business, but I don't.
Right.
It's not about that for me, because these are things that are handpicked, and I honestly feel like we handpick them for people that will come into our lives that they will resonate with. So with our larger minerals, we actually interview people. I know, we want to know where they're going, and because they have to be placed properly and in the right environments, because they're holding space. And these ones that we find, we search for them, and they are vibrating high, and they need to be gone as much. So I'm trying to think. There was one of recent that was, I don't know, geez, I don't even know. It was big. It was like very large, like 20 feet high. I mean, it was big. It's big, and it was weighed a lot. And once we interviewed the people that wanted to buy it, it was going to a place in New York, in this remote spa up above on the mountains. And it was like, oh, wow, that's a much better home than I'm going to give it.
Right.
So we actually have a whole bunch. I was actually at our warehouse today, and I went into the room, and it did feel gluttonous, I'm going to be honest. And I felt like, you know what, stop. Because at some point there has to be that exchange. And I say this to those crystal people, and this is an interesting, because you want to hold on to these guys, okay? But then there becomes a point where, for me now, I want to pick up certain ones, and like, for example, like this one I absolutely love. This is a fluorite. I love this. Beautiful. But who have I talked to lately as a friend or somebody? A lot of children. I love kids. I love kids. They are awesome. They get crystals. They don't even ask questions. They know so much more than we do. I absolutely, but like every now and then I'm like, okay, maybe this one's now time for me to pass on to somebody else as a gift, or blah, blah, blah. So I'm in this exchange energy with them. And I'm not saying that it's easy.
Right. Well, that resonates a lot with me, because when this whole situation started for me and I started purchasing, I recognized that I found myself actually wanting to give them away more than I was keeping. I would recognize someone struggling with something specific, and I would be like, oh, I know exactly what they need. And so for me, it's extremely fun to gift crystals. I actually have one that I'm going to mail out today for a little girl who just had a tube feed placed yesterday. And so she's in recovery. She's 6 years old, and she absolutely loves rocks. So she has a little amethyst necklace. And so I'm going to send her a little gift. And I know that that's going to be a very cherished gift that she'll receive, other than like the stuffed animals and the flowers and the other things that we typically get, for these kind of circumstances. Hopefully it will help with her healing process is the intention. She'll be able to.
And it will sparkle at her. It's
absolutely
interesting. It's like every time she looks over, it'll sparkle, and she'll know that there's somebody who gave it to her with love. And then, as you know, with the whole brain, you look over. That's why I love crystals, because they hold space. Oh, this was sent to me as a healing device with just pure love and intention. That's me. Reprogram. And it's beautiful.
That is such a beautiful statement. Thank you for sharing that. I think that's really powerful, and something that we can tangibly accept as a reality, right? Holding that space. Gosh, what a fabulous statement. I'll probably use that as a quote on Instagram when we release this. So what I have seen in the last 8 months or so since quarantine started, there's been a lot more interest from normal individuals who weren't into this kind of spirituality. They're getting really interested in crystals. And so I'm curious what your advice is, being that we don't have as much access. Did the crystal thing even happen this year when it's normally in February, isn't it?
Well, there's two ones. Yeah, the one's coming up in February. That's the big Tucson show. And there's also another smaller show that usually happens in September.
Okay.
And it did happen, but on a very small level. And you're right, because it's not as easy to get as many minerals here, and it's with what's going on. But what I've learned, and what we at Energy Muse, what we have learned through this, is that we were always looking outside of the United States for all of our minerals. And so it gave us an opportunity to start connecting with miners, because it was a big question to us on like, how are these crystals being mined, and how is the earth being treated, and who's bulldozing, and how this. So during the quarantine period, we've had the opportunity to meet with miners, go mining, see what crystals are actually here in the United States of America that I had no idea about. Wow. And so there's a lot of cool stuff happening here, and there's a lot of opportunity for just here where we have. But yeah, I mean, the industry is definitely shifting. Mm-hmm. And I think it's opening up in many ways. And I think there's a lot of healing and questions being asked in our industry that wasn't being asked before that needed to be asked, such as what's happening on our planet. There's lots of opening and awakening. So yeah, we'll see, we'll see what happens. Obviously I've been doing this with Timmi for over 20 years. So we have established relationships with people. So we're able to navigate that during these times, luckily for us. And so our number one mission is to still be able to serve our community at affordable pricing, and a way to make sure that we introduce people to crystals and make it easy and simple and interactive, where it doesn't get complicated. It's just like, how can I use this on a daily basis to help me shift my life?
I love that. Yeah, that's perfect. So with there being an increase in interest and less access, I've heard a lot of people are turning to like Amazon to purchase their crystals because they can't find them anywhere else. Is there anything the listeners need to be aware of or mindful when they are considering purchasing crystals through something like Amazon rather than going in person or going to a reputable website like Energy Muse?
Okay. Well, you know what? I will say there's a lot of amazing people selling crystals out there. I mean, I love what everybody's doing. The difference with what Energy Muse does, I'm a very big person about cleansing and purifying stones. I feel it makes a huge difference, but then I'm a big person on cleansing and purifying environments, because if you want to shift your life, you have to have a clean environment that the crystals reside in. So the difference at Energy Muse is that for 24 hours a day, we have mantras that are going on 24/7 at our office. This has gone on for years. We have a smoking ritual that goes on, that everything is purified. And so the vibrational frequency, and I tweak it all the time. It is kind of like I am all about formulas. And so when you get a crystal from Energy Muse, you can rest assured that it has been cleansed, it's been purified, it has vibrational frequency that's been programmed in there. If it's in our warehouse, it's sitting there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And I do know that makes a difference. And I do know that when you get a crystal from Energy Muse, you could take it out of the bag and you can use it. Now, I think if you buy on other sources and you always get to know who you're buying from. I think it's important what their belief system is and philosophy. And once again, there are great people out there. But, you should always cleanse and purify your stones when you get it and make sure that you program them. And it's kind of like making it user-friendly. Like I look at them as energetic technology.
Yeah.
And, you want to start with a clean slate, and it needs to be clean energy. And if you think about it, if it comes out of a mind, then it goes to somebody else, and it has lots of hands on a crystal before you actually even get it. So you got to clean them, and we take pride in that part. And I learned that many years ago, and I've implemented in that. That is non-negotiable at our business.
I am so blown away. I might have fallen even more in love with you and the company to know that. I mean, that's just, that's passion. That's passion, just, pure love to understand how important that part is. When this whole idea of crystals was introduced to me, I was trying to understand this whole cleansing and purifying process. What are some easy tips you can give the listeners? Maybe they have a crystal that someone gave them, or they've had one sitting around for a really long time, haven't done anything with it. How can they cleanse? What's something easy they can do to cleanse and purify?
So one of the things, if you are interested, we came up with a cleansing playlist. And if you go to our Instagram site at Energy Muse on Instagram and direct message us, we will send that to you for free. And this is what's so cool about it. I would love to be able to smudge and sage my house every day, but I can't do that every day because life is busy. But what I can do is I could hit a playlist on my phone that's piped into a stereo or just play it off my phone. And what happens is it's certain vibrational sound frequencies that clear your environment. So say, for example, you have a crystal and you want to cleanse it, you just put the playlist on and it will clean it on a vibrational level. So that's just like, that's it. I'm into energy hacking. That's a very quick hack. And what's so good is you put your playlist on, you have your crystals, you can go take a shower, brush your teeth, whatever you need to do, feed your kids, go over on Zoom calls, whatever you need to do with getting all that going on. And you're doing multiple things. So I'm all about that. I think that if you have sage or you have different scents, you can do that. But I also feel like sound frequency, for me personally, in how crystals are, it's a different way to vibrationally cleanse your stones. Okay. And so the sound of Om on there's, megahertz music that is included in our playlist. It's next level energy hacking. It's free. We're really about, and one of the things that we really, I feel like we got to get more people like vibing high. And it's like, I don't want to have money be your, like, if you what is it that you need to go to the next level that we can provide you on a free basis so you don't have the excuse of, I can't afford it and I don't have time. Okay, well, here's this for free. That will take what, 30 seconds? What is something else that you can do? That is what we're trying to do at Energy Muse, because if 30 more people and 60 more people and 80 more people remember that if you plug into the light is powerful, more powerful than darkness. We need the numbers right now, guys. Absolutely. We need to tip it on to the balancing act. And if you're into crystals and you're into this modality, let's level up and vibe up. And here are tools that can be provided to you for free and easy and simple that can be integrated into your life so that we don't have those excuses. You know what I'm saying? Believe me, I could come up with a million of them, but this is too important. And so that's what we're trying to provide here are ways to help you be successful that doesn't take a lot of time and isn't going to kill the bank.
Right. I just can't speak highly enough about you and the company and the mission and the consciousness behind everything that is done. It's so beautiful. It resonates so much with me. And when you're talking about we need to raise the vibration of the collective right now. We're in a very pivotal moment and we need to shift things away from fear and into love. For me, I know sharing crystals with others is one way of me giving back and contributing to that. So thank you so much for sharing that resource. I know that I will definitely be heading over to download that because I'm all about multitasking and making things easier so that we can consistently practice. I find that when we have this kind of high expectation and we bite off more than we can chew, we can do it for a very short time. We can't stay consistent with it. And then ultimately we don't reap the benefits and the rewards from the practice.
But that's the secret. If people are like, what is the secret? The secret is consistency.
100%. Yeah.
And the only one that can create that is you. And what I found is that if I can't be committed to myself, then who else, how can I be committed to anybody else?
Right.
And it's a really powerful teaching tool to yourself, because that's why it's so important to do 40-day rituals or 21-day rituals, because we learn where we slip up or we self-sabotage. We're really good up to day 5. And then at day 5, we're like, I possibly can't do that 3 minutes. I'm exhausted. I don't have time in the day. Or we get to day 18 right before the end and we stop. And so that's something that doesn't cost you a thing. A lot of this stuff doesn't have to cost you a thing. It's just you and yourself on the journey. And if you could do one thing for 3 minutes for 21 days, You're going to learn more about you than many courses that you can take. And the cost investment is very minimal, but you will learn where you stop yourself from going to that next level.
Absolutely. Such beautiful words. Thank you so much for sharing that to the audience. That's something that I strongly promote. So hearing it from you just reinforces it within myself and makes me just sing praises that, you know, this is being shared. And if individuals, when you said this secret is consistency, I can't shout that loud enough from the rooftops and for it to actually sink in. So having these rituals are so helpful because they support our ability to stay consistent. We're a little bit more mindful. But I have a question for you. When I was doing one of these rituals specifically, it was a 45-day ritual, I was traveling a lot. And so I would not start the ritual because of my travel schedule. And then things started happening where I would start it and then I just had to go. So is there any kind of tips that you have for traveling and keeping everything safe and energetically as it should be to be consistent with those longer rituals when we can't stay at home for 45 days?
Yeah, I mean, and I think that that's a really good question. And it depends on, I'll just speak for myself. I often can get into a trap of being, sometimes I want to have everything be perfect. And if it's not a certain way, then I'm like, oh, it's not working, then blah, blah, blah. But what I've realized is that maybe the lesson for me is to go, okay, so what if it was modified? Is it more important to do bump, 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 bump? Or is it more important for me just to show up where I am right now and be adaptable and be flexible? And then who am I when things aren't perfect? Now, I'm all about the lesson. Is the lesson about the ritual, or is the lesson about, okay, I'm in a different frequency right now. How adaptable am I? And can I modify, and can 1 minute be as powerful as 11? Oh, you bet it can, because I showed up and I did it for what I could do in this moment of time. And that is good enough today. And you know what? That sounds super simple, but if you have control issues and perfectionist issues and then the big journey isn't about the ritual. It's about that mindset, which you know a lot about. And it's converting that cellular thinking, those programmings, and being like, the mantra is really like, this is good for today.
Right. So as you're explaining this, my brain's thinking, oh, Heather, you could have simplified this so much more. I appreciate you sharing that tip with us, because it was, I'm sure you've experienced this, but the look on the faces of the individuals when I'm going through the airport security line and I have all of my rocks safely packaged up in my bag, and they're like, what is this? Like bomb testing, the whole thing. I'm like, oh, it's my rocks. I need them. And now I'm sitting here thinking, oh, I could have just done a mantra and maybe carried a mala, and that would have sufficed and served the purpose that was needed for whatever time period I couldn't have been.
Yeah. I used to do the same. I would travel with all this stuff. And you know what would happen? It was making me, I thought my practice that was helping me calm down was actually making me not calm down. And that's the whole point. And once again, that's what the teaching is.
You're so realistic. You're so relatable. I could talk to you all day, literally, and pick your brain. So for the listeners out there who don't have any idea where to start, but they're very curious and they want to get something, what would you recommend?
Okay, so what I think a lot of times what I used to say is trust your intuition, but what I've been finding lately is a lot of people are like, I don't know what that is. Number one, can you explain it? And number two, I still don't trust myself. I just want somebody to tell me what to do, okay? And that's fair, all right? Because the journey with the crystals is you start learning to trust yourself, but you're not always there outside of the gate, okay? So that's why I think, and once again, A lot of this stuff is at energymuse.com. If you go to our blog, we got so much free information, you don't even have to go there. But the thing I think that's good about CRYSTAL365 is the approach was, I want love. Here's the crystal for love. I want balance. So you don't have to think that through. Usually we know what we want. Okay, well, I want a new job, or I want to have wealth. Well, pyrite. I want to be nicer to myself. Pink opal. So instead of you going, okay, what is my intuition? No, it's like, okay, well, I want to have love, or I want to. So then everything's outlined. Love, rose quartz. That's your first one. Up, 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 up. So you make it super simple. And then if you know what you want, then the crystal's been aligned. So it's one crystal, one purpose. And so what I would suggest when you start playing out with crystals is just start with one and just get to know that one and kind of go on that thing. Now for me, I will give you my first crystal. My first crystal is amethyst. I loved amethyst to this day. And what's so crazy is you'd be like, that was my first crystal, but even like this, how many years later, I'm learning more about amethyst now from a different perspective. So I just think starter stones, amethyst is a good one. I think rose quartz is a really good one. Everyone could open their heart. Everyone could have love. And I'll give you one more because I think if it gets beyond 3. And then selenite is another one.
That's a bad boy.
This one is, for me, this one, if you can have one crystal that every human being on the planet Earth could use, I think selenite it's amazing stone. It helps to clear your energy. It helps to clear your crystals. It helps to put a protective shield. It helps you to connect you to light. So there's a lot of multi-purposes with it. So just keeping it simple on 3.
I love it. And selenite is such a great one. My friends, we all have very large pieces of selenite in our homes. And whenever we go and visit one another, we're always taking the bottoms of our feet and rubbing the bottoms of our feet, clearing our energy before we enter into the space. And so it's kind of a fun thing. And we laugh about it. Like, I'm sure people watching probably think we're lunatics, but it works. Right. So for me, my largest piece that I have gifted, adopted has been an amethyst, and I'm so proud of it. It's absolutely gorgeous, and it just brings so much joy to me every time I look at it. I think amethyst is a great crystal. And like you said, rose quartz, we all need love. We all need to be supported. I do have a question. If someone is suffering, let's say they're really stuck in a mental state of carrying a lot of shame, a lot of guilt, is there any specific crystal that can really help support them working through that and allowing them to release the emotional pain bodies that are associated deep in their cells, deep into the cells of the body? Is there anything specific that can support with that?
Yeah, number one, I think that usually when people get into that storyline, you have to clear your space.
Okay.
So definitely go through on, there's a prayer in Crystal Muse on page 32 that was given to me by a Native American shaman.
Okay.
It was one of the secret prayers, but it was one of the first time it's been printed in public.
Wow.
So I highly suggest reading it, using the sound frequency to clear your environment. I definitely think for issues such as that, I think rainbow obsidian is a number one. That's a powerhouse. One of my favorite stones because it absorbs negativity, but it bursts out like rainbow light. I definitely think that hematite is a real powerful one for that. I think smoky quartz, another one, is just the bomb. And I also think a good black tourmaline. Now, I will hold these stones and I almost look at them as energetic sponges. So I almost start seeing darkness, cords, gunk being absorbed into the stones. And I even will say it out loud. Okay, angels, archangels, come in. I reprogram my cellular being on all dimensions of time. Please, discord, bring all the gunk, blah, 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 whatever you want to say, and really put that in there. And then you're going to have to cleanse those stones. So when you're using that for deep healing on a cellular level, you got to purify and cleanse the stones after that. You got to give them a shower.
Okay. That's such great advice. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate that. I've recognized recently with some podcasts that I've recorded that shame and guilt is something that a majority of the population really struggles with and carries heavily. And so any kind of assistance that we can help provide to work through that is very beneficial. So thank you for sharing that. You have been so amazing. I am so appreciative of all of the advice. I hope everyone heads over to energymuse.com, check out the blog, check out the shop. You even have like beginner kits that you can purchase.
So, our number one mission is to make it as simple as possible, where I'm not saying this, but kind of like where you don't have to think, where you open it up and it gives you step 1, step 2, step 3. Mm-hmm. And it keeps it super simple. I know me, I don't want to be overwhelmed right now. There's already enough going on. I want to have things that are going to help me make my life easier and more simple. That is like key, because we have families to take care of. We've got kids at home. We've got a lot of stuff going on. And so that is our mission, to really do that. But please go to our blog. There's a lot of free, if you are new to crystals, there's so much free content. We are always available to answer questions on all of our outlets.
Oh, thank you. That's awesome. And don't forget, everyone, you can head over to Instagram and DM them to receive that frequency music playlist for programming your crystals. So I will definitely be doing that.
And then on every Monday on Instagram at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, I do a half an hour free class. Oh. And so it's kind of cool, because last week I taught everyone how to do a money grid. So every week, throughout the week, people will call in and say, hey, these are my questions. And I do that for half an hour. It's my service that I want to give as much information as I can. I did it for 21 days. We did a 21-day free class. Wow. And so now this is on Mondays Pacific Standard Time from 9 to 9:30.
Okay. Well, I will definitely be tuning in. I will make sure to keep my schedule clear for that time slot. Thank you so much for being with us today and sharing all of your insightful wisdom with the listeners. You're such an impressive human, and I'm so grateful that you're out there helping to raise the vibration of the planet and teach people how we can love ourselves, love the planet, and love one another. It's such beautiful work, and I thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us on the Think Yourself Healthy podcast. Make sure you leave a review and let me know what you think. I love reading your feedback. Come hang out with me on Instagram at Heather Duranja, and don't forget to take a screenshot that you're listening to the podcast and tag me. I love to share it. See you on the next episode.